So the host, guests, and callers, they do not necessarily reflect those of Local Matters Broadcasting LLC, its owners, partners, affiliates, assigns, or heirs. Having said that, it's now time to say good morning, St. Johns County. Welcome to the weekly radio show of the St. Johns County Council on Aging, better known in our community as the COA. We are your local nonprofit agency who for the past 51 years has been leading and advocating for the dignity and independence of seniors and responding to their changing needs. I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA, broadcasting to you live from the studio of WFOY 102.1 FM, your local radio station for news, sports, and talk. Before we get into our show, let me remind everyone, if you have a question, comment, or a suggestion for a radio show topic, you can send your email to radio@coasjc.org. Again, that's radio@coasjc.org. All right, joining me this morning is Dr. Phil Maffetone, schooled in the field of human biology, physiotherapy, and Chinese medicine. Dr. Maffetone is a pioneer in the field of biofeedback. He is an internationally acclaimed author, having published more than 20 books, including the first on heart rate monitoring in the early 1980s and the first on the benefits of barefoot running in the 1990s. His Big Book of Health and Fitness, serves as a Bible for the healthy and active lifestyle, and his textbook, Complementary Sports Medicine, is published in 4 languages. He continues to write extensively and lecture worldwide on health and human performance. Outside of the sports arena, he has coached a variety of people in the entertainment field, including musicians James Taylor and Johnny Cash, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and producer Rick Rubin, and has also provided a system of success for some of the world's top business executives as well as the United States military. So here to speak to us this morning on the topic of aging, he is going to talk about 3 key lifestyle factors that can significantly affect quality of life. That is diet, physical activity, and music. Dr. Phil, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. Great to be here.
The original Dr. Phil.
The original one. That's correct. By about 2 years.
Well, there you go. We were talking about that a little bit before we got the show started. And so the original Dr. Phil was in the studio with us this morning. So thank you for joining us. And I think before we get into the topic at hand, just kind of tell folks how you got connected to St. Augustine, how long you've been here, been a part of St. Johns County, and so on.
Gee, I think, I came down here first in the very early 90s, maybe 91. And it was a part-time thing because I was still in private practice up in New York, and I would come down for sometimes weeks at a time. And that gradually got longer and longer, and I left practice in 97 and became a full-time resident here and continued living here and loving it. And I woke up one day in 2002 and I was a songwriter, and I didn't quite know what that meant. And so I ran away to Los Angeles to pursue that career. I quit my job, and it was a wonderful experience. Eventually I would come back, and here I am.
Fantastic. Well, so we probably may have crossed paths at some point. I went to college in Jacksonville, Florida from 95 to 98, and my wife and I would come down to St. Augustine for our date nights. And so we were in the area at the same time. We moved back to West Virginia. We're there until 2018 and moved back down here. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And so let's just jump into this first segment here. We're going to be having a commercial break here in just about 5 minutes, but let's just jump into what you want to talk about. And you're talking about, key lifestyle factors that can significantly affect the quality of life.
Well, people don't realize how significant our environment is, our personal lifestyle, what we do, how we think, what we eat, our day-to-day movements, and the enjoyment of life, which is where the music comes in, the creative part. And we've all grown up in a society, a healthcare society, where we sort of wait until we get a disease, and then that disease is attended to, and prevention is no longer really used as a true word that gives the individual responsibility for preventing these chronic diseases that most people die from, and most of them are preventable. So how can we do that? Well, as you say, there are 3 things that I'm going to talk about. physical activity. That doesn't necessarily mean exercise. It means moving around a lot. It means the food we eat has an immediate impact on our brain and body. And the things we love, the things our oldest ancestors did. From the beginning, humans had music, and that's how we communicated with each other. That's how we developed into such an amazing species with the most incredible brains, building the society, and here we are today.
And it's very interesting. Like you talk about prevention, right? And it's us doing our part. And I think you bring up a very good point. Is like we've gotten to this place where we kind of have become dependent on something else helping us whenever we get to that point, right? So there's all kinds of medication that are out there. I'm not against medication by any means, but I think like there's things that we could have did earlier in our lives that could have prevented us getting to that point where we needed the medicine.
No question about it. And I'm not opposed to medication either. I'm opposed to the way it's used, which is the first line of treatment. Sometimes that's necessary. But the first line of treatment is what we do with ourselves, which goes back to really before birth. But certainly by the time we are growing up and realizing that we have control over ourselves, our lives and our future, we decide to either take charge of our health or kind of let it go to whatever happens, and we've given away that responsibility to the healthcare complex, which is quite a scary thing.
And I think I've heard this said before. We've kind of become the microwave generation, right? We're so used to like just popping something in the microwave and 2 minutes later it's ready to go. And we want that instantaneous relief or a solution to our problem. And I think we've grown so accustomed to that we often don't want to put in the hard work that needs to be put in to keep ourselves healthy.
It's instant karma. And and it's not hard work, really. It's deciding I'm going to eat these foods and not eat those foods. It's deciding I'm going to listen to the music I loved when I was 18 years old. I'm going to listen to real music, not industry music. It's sort of going to just come down to making healthy choices.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take our first break right now. We'll continue this conversation right after these messages. You're listening to the Weekly Radio Show, the St. Johns County Council on Aging. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Weekly Radio Show, the St. Johns County Council on Aging, here on WFOY 102.1 FM, your local radio station for news, sports, and talk. I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA, and I am joined in the studio this morning by Dr. Phil Maffetone. And we are talking about the topic of lifestyle, 3 key lifestyle factors that can significantly affect the quality of life. And so, we've been talking about diet and, physical activity, music, and so forth. So let's, dive a little bit more deeper into diet. Like what are your recommendations for diet?
Well, I had a patient in the beginning of my career, and he came in, I evaluated him, we did a bunch of blood tests, and it was pretty clear to me what we needed to do, and I wrote everything out, and I had 3 pages of recommendations for him, and I went through it with him, and he was very grateful, and he thanked me profusely, and I never saw him again. And I asked another patient who had referred him, what's the deal? Where is he? Why didn't he come back? And he said, well, he was so overwhelmed by your recommendation. And that's the problem that many people have. They're overwhelmed by government recommendations, healthcare recommendations, of course, the advertising, the marketing of things. Mm-hmm. And people don't know who or what to believe anymore. And can we make it really simple? We can. It's really, really very simple. Start at the top. Start with the most important recommendation. What one thing can we do that would solve a lot of other problems and we don't have to think about anything else yet. Let's do the one thing. Let's focus on the one thing. And that one thing is avoiding sugar, avoiding refined carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates, flour products typically, when we consume them, turn to sugar. So we're basically eating sugar. That bowl of pasta, that that sandwich, those two pieces of bread, that bagel you're eating turns to sugar as soon as it's consumed. So it's like having a bowl of sugar for breakfast, and we wouldn't obviously do that. At least most people wouldn't. So as you're listening, you might think, well, gee, that's all I eat. Floured products, cereal, bread, muffins, pasta, rice, white rice. It's the processing of those products that is the problem. Natural wheat berries can be healthy if you're not allergic, but most people have never seen a wheat berry. They don't even know what a wheat berry is, but that's what grows on the farm, and then it's processed so much by the time we get it that it's really it's lost all its nutrition, and it turns to sugar after we eat it. So that's the one recommendation. Quick and simple. Avoid the refined carbohydrates. And the deception out there is so significant. You look at a package and it says whole grain. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just a lie. I think in this country, I think in order to say whole grain, 30% of the product has to have whole grain. Well, 70% of it is highly processed flour that turns to sugar. Do you really want to eat that? So we have to really beware. We have to educate ourselves a little bit, but basically stay away from refined carbohydrates and sugar. And people now are thinking, well, gee, what am I going to eat now? There's a lot of real food out there, vegetables and eggs and cheese and fish, and you could make a new meal every morning or every evening that's different every day for the next year. There's so much variety out there. And so you just have to think about it. Well, if I can't eat that, okay, I'll have this. So going back to, I had a vegetable omelet this morning for breakfast. I'll have a salad with some meat or fish for lunch. And so it's really quite simple. We just, we can't even go to the store without being bombarded to buy this junk food. That's what it is. It's really junk food. And most restaurants now are full of junk food. And it's hard. You have to almost interrogate the waiter when you go in. What's in this soup? Oh, it's white flour. That's what thickens it, or starch, or something that I don't want to eat. So that's really, and when you eliminate sugar and refined carbohydrates from the diet, our metabolism changes the same day, literally. We can start improving the same day because those foods have an immediate impact on our brain, in particular the brain. And as the days go by and as a week goes by, all of a sudden we're burning more body fat for energy. So now our energy goes up, our body fat goes down, our brain has unlimited energy, and it just gets better and better after that.
And then how would a gluten-free diet tie into what you're saying?
Well, a gluten-free, the gluten intolerance thing is the latest bandwagon. It's been a few years. But if I'm in a restaurant and I say, I don't want any carbohydrates or any starch, and then they say, oh, you're gluten intolerant. And I say, well, I don't know if I'm gluten intolerant. I've never been tested. Most people haven't. Now it's a blood test. It used to be a biopsy. So it's possible to know if you're gluten intolerant, but we are all intolerant to refined carbohydrates, period, because our bodies are not meant to metabolize them. That's why we turn so much of it into fat. and store it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but the sugar and refined carbohydrates prevents us from burning fat calories when we do exercise.
Mm-hmm.
We burn sugar calories. So that's why a lot of even runners, I did a running podcast recently, and we talked about how many runners are over fat.
Mm.
They have excess body fat, and yet they're running 50, 60 miles a week, 70, 80 miles a week, some of them. But they're not burning fat calories, they're burning sugar calories, which makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know personally that when I went on a diet and I went to the lowered my sugar and lowered my carbs, started running 3 times a week, and I lost 50 pounds. I mean, not overnight, but just staying with that, and so I can speak to it. It definitely works.
Yeah, and it's relatively easy. Once you understand that you're going to be eliminating a lot of foods, but you're going to be putting a lot of foods back. Many of them are foods you love, but you've been told by the marketers and the junk food industry that these are bad foods. Stay away from them. Eat our food, which is low in fat. Well, it's low in fat, but you store more fat from eating it, and you can't burn body fat, so you keep accumulating body fat. And I did a study a few years ago and showed that 91% of American adults had excess body fat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was before COVID. That number is probably up to 94 now.
And I think a lot of it comes down to convenience, though, too, right? Because it takes time to cook a healthy meal, right? Whereas you could just take something that's like we talked about earlier, you could just pop it in the microwave, and then 2 minutes later your meal's ready to go. And so I think for a lot of people it's just they don't have the time to put into it because they're so busy.
Yeah, they think they don't have the time. We're in this convenient society, in this crazy world where we've got all these things to do. Well, what are you really doing? Do you need to spend time on social media? Is that why you're busy? Do you need to spend time, whatever? I mean, it took me this morning. It took me about 3.5 minutes to make my vegetable omelet.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down and ate it leisurely, and people don't have time to do that either. But that's important. But it's all about a priority. Do you want to have a better brain? It's simple. Get rid of the refined carbohydrates. Find the foods that you really love making. Figure out how you can fit that into your schedule. Instead of making something for dinner, make 3 times that so you have 2 more dinners after that day. And now you've saved a lot of time. And likewise for, any other meal you make.
Mm-hmm. And then I think sometimes I think also like our bodies become addicted to certain types of foods, right? And so it kind of becomes an addiction,
without a doubt,
which is very difficult.
Sugar is addiction. It will be certified by the mental health professionals as an addiction soon. It's been talked about for several years now.
All right, that music means we've got to take our next break. We'll be right back after these messages. And welcome back to the weekly radio show of the St. Johns County Council on Aging here on WFOY 102.1 FM. Your local radio station for news, sports, and talk. I'm Brian Robinson, Program Director for COA. Next week in the studio, I'll have Michelle Coley with the Wildflower Healthcare. So tune in next week, same time, same place, right here on WFOY 102.1 FM. In the studio today is Dr. Phil Maffetone, and we're talking about 3 key lifestyle factors that can significantly affect the quality of life, and that is diet, physical activity, and music. And so let's talk a little bit more about physical activity. Because not everybody can get out there and run. Like I run 3 times a week, 3.5 miles each time, but not everybody can get out there and do that.
Right. And if you have this idea that you can't do much of anything and you only do one thing, it's the dietary things we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
But humans are meant to be active. We're not meant to go to the gym. We're not meant to do things that we don't like. If we don't like running, then we shouldn't run. If we don't like cycling or swimming, we shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
What we should do is be active. And that begins with sitting as little as possible. And I have a stand-up desk at home, and I spend much of my day standing on it and working on the computer, writing. But I also will stop in the middle of a sentence sometimes and just start pacing back and forth. And sometimes that pacing will take me outside, and I'll pace, and I'll occasionally pace up and down the street. I know the neighbors are looking at me wondering, who is that old guy? But I'm active, and in those instances, I'm getting ideas for the rest of the sentence or the rest of the paragraph or the research I'm doing. How can I present this in a better way? Whatever. And we're all able to be more active, and we're all told we should be sitting down. You go into an office and they say, "Oh, welcome, have a seat." Well, no, I'd rather stand. And I mean, I've been in offices, you go to the dentist and they want you to sit down. I'm going to stand here in the waiting room. And like 2 or 3 people would come out and say, you could sit if you'd like. No, thanks, I'd like to stand. And I stand and I move around, and that's movement. That is what would be called exercise. Mm-hmm. And if we want to do more, and in the course of a day, we could do a lot of movement if we want, if we go out of our way to do it. But if we want to do more, we don't have to go to the gym. We don't have to buy fancy clothes or fancy shoes. We just need something flat on our feet. And all we need to do is go out and walk. And if we go out and walk for 10 minutes, that's a huge period of physical activity. And we could if we're new, we could work our way up to 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. A 30-minute walk is a huge amount of activity for many people who are not active. However, if you come back, even if you've gone out and run 5 miles, you come back and spend the rest of the day sitting, you're defined as being inactive. Mm-hmm. The 5 miles is sort of been canceled out because you're sitting all day at your desk or sitting all day at the wherever in your car, the combinations of things. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people sit on the couch at night and watch TV, and now you're bombarded with messages about junk food, and plus you're sitting. Sitting is a very unnatural, unhealthy position for humans, and so the less of it we do, I mean, we're sitting right now, but I'm going to get up and go out to my car, and then I'm going to go pacing because I'm in the middle of writing something. And I'll have a very active day. The little bit of sitting that we do is tolerated quite well, but when we make it a big part of our day, it's a problem. So we don't have to go to the gym. We don't have to do all these crazy workouts that we hear about. We see other people do. Most of them are getting injured. We just need to be mildly active. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really simple.
And I think that's a great point because, so often, typically New Year's Day rolls around and everybody starts their New Year's resolutions, which often includes going to the gym, right? And then they do it for, 3 to 6 weeks, and then they just get discouraged by it all, right? And then they just quit altogether. And so I think you bring up a good point of finding an activity that you can do, that you enjoy doing, and doesn't stress you out doing it, right? So that you'll want to do it. I think that's the important.
And you'll feel the need to do it. You'll just feel the need to go out and move. And if it's in a pool, if it's in a community with other people, if it's in whatever your environment, it should be fun. It should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be something you're afraid to do, afraid to start. You don't have to go to the gym and look at the mirrors where you've got all these muscle bulked up people who will turn you off quickly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the reason people go to the gym and it doesn't work, or they start a running program and they're not losing weight, is because they're eating refined carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. That's a priority. That priority you have to take care of first. Then everything else will fall into place. It's like quitting cigarettes or other drugs. If you get rid of the carbohydrates, if you get rid of that addiction first, everything else is easy after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I want to make sure that we have time to talk about the music part, and then in the final segment after the next commercial break, you brought your guitar. You're going to sing for us, but let's talk a little bit about the music part before the next commercial break comes in.
Sure, we are as humans hardwired for music. We, like I said earlier, we used music to communicate for a million years before language. Um, and so our brain and body is hardwired for music. And today, like natural foods have been taken away from us and we're given junk foods, natural music is often taken away. The industry, the music industry, makes its own music, and it's a certain style of music, and they want to make it because they want to control it, and that's what they give you. And it's really sad. Growing up as a kid, I listened to it, there were a lot of singer-songwriters in the 60s, and I was I was I learned from them. I realized that music is wonderful. I felt good. I wanted to share it. It was all about peace and love, and the joy of that music stayed with me for years and years. And so music is therapeutic. Mm-hmm. Music is a very valuable part of our lives and has been, but in our busy, rushed society, we don't find time for it, or we find the convenience of it by turning on, a station or, listening to something online.
And speaking of music, that means it's time for our next break. We'll be right back after these commercials. And welcome back to the final segment of the weekly radio show of St. Johns County Council on Aging. And Dr. Phil is going to sing for us now.
Thanks, Brian. I just to finish up where we left off, how can people benefit from music? Well, there's really two things people can do. One is listen to the songs they love, whatever that is, classical, punk rock, folk music. Go back in time and listen to what you first fell in love with. Listen to the music you listened to at a time when you were really, really happy and you had no cares, whatever. You have oldies. Go listen to them. Sure. It's so easy to do now. And the second thing is to give the brain a surprise. The brain loves surprises. It's amazing what the scans look like when you surprise a brain. The brain lights up. We make connections between brain cells that have never been made before. That's an amazing thing. And so listening to songs or albums or whatever that you hear about that maybe your kids listen to, your parents listen to, your friends listen to, not commercial music, but real music by singer-songwriters, and get surprised by it. Even if you don't like it, you've been surprised by it, you don't like it, it's not going to become an oldie. But you'll find some oldies from people you didn't know were out there singing songs. So I have a quiet little song here I wrote a few years ago. And, I just let songs flow out. I don't think I'm going to write about this or that. They just come out, and I don't complain. I don't seem to steer it any. But this song came out, and I thought, well, this is a cute little kid song, a child song. And after I played it a bunch, I thought, wow, this is actually a song for adults to help bring out our inner child. And so this is a song called Wizard Shoes. Last night I saw the wizard shoes resting by the door. I did not choose this fateful night, the best thing I hoped for. I walked inside to see who had come to me. The time was still, but could I see the wizard on the floor. Was it me, I thought out loud as I passed through the door. I couldn't really see who had come to me. I had to see the wizard's shoes again out by the door, but they were gone so far away, gone evermore. I didn't really see who had come to me. I came in and there it was, a little stone for me. Something here that I could see the wizard left for me. I walked outside to see who had come to me. The wizard came for me.
That's great. I love songs like that where it tells a little story and it kind of makes you get drawn into it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to picture this wizard, and
yes,
I'm trying to picture you like in the person in the song, and I love that.
It's storytelling, and that's the music humans had before language. We told stories without words, and now we get to use words, which typically get in the way, but we have to finagle them. We have to use those words tonally, not atonally. Excuse me. So. Storytelling is a big part of music, and if you like that story, or if you think of some oldies you really love and you realize, hey, those are storytelling songs, that's the kind of music you want to listen to, because it's like, telling stories to our 3-year-old during bedtime stories is sort of what a lot of us grew up with, and it's still a powerful brain therapy that we should be getting every day.
And it's amazing that the brain can retain music. I've seen videos where somebody with Alzheimer's and who is in like the middle stage of Alzheimer's and they can't remember their spouse's name, but you put on a song that they are familiar with, and they can sing it word
and
for
they will wake up. And I've seen that many times. We're all familiar with I can't remember the neurologist's name that you may be referring to, but it was in a documentary. I don't remember, but we've seen this in Alzheimer's patients. But imagine how much better we would function if we do that way before Alzheimer's strikes, and as a way of preventing it. Or we don't really prevent, we postpone things, we push them out. So if we get Alzheimer's when we're 120 years old, it's okay because we're dead. So it's postponing illness and disease, postponing the aging process, which we can do quite readily.
And I like how you brought up the point that the oldies, right? So and it's different for each person, right? Because what is an oldies to me is from the 1980s, whereas an oldies to you might be something from the 70s, right? And it's going to vary from person to person, but it does take you back to a time that, like for me, when I think of the 80s, that's my teenage years, which teenage years are tumultuous, but there's a lot of great memories from that time in my life. So I enjoy listening to that
you
music.
Time travel back, and you live in that world. You are in that world. Your brain is in that world, and what a wonderful therapy that can be. But there are generational factors with music, but there are some songs and some musicians, some bands that transcend that. I think the music industry, the surveys they do recently showed that one of the biggest downloads from 18 to 26-year-olds is the Beatles. They not only changed music forever, but they set a standard that is still there today. And I listen to the Beatles all the time, but I listen to new things, and I listen to music from the 20s and 30s and classical stuff and Nirvana. I'm doing it regularly.
Mm-hmm. And that's good as well. The variety, I'm sure, is good for your brain as well.
Yes, the variety is good, and you don't want to get locked in. I had somebody that I talked to, and he was a pianist, and he could play any sonata that's ever been written, and he said, I'm trying to break out of that mold. I'm trying to play some new stuff, and I can't seem to do it. And I said, well, look, I want you to listen to this song, and I wanted to give his brain a surprise to kind of shake him up.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me a few days later, and he said, I listened to that song, and I did what you said. I listened to the whole thing. I didn't turn it off, even though I wanted to. And it was a Nirvana song.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a classical pianist listening to Nirvana and hating it. But it's a few days after that, he called me and said, hey, I was playing this sonata, and I realized that the chord changes were like that guy in Nirvana did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, music is a universal language. We all have it, and don't be swayed, don't be thrown off by the marketing. It's what you love.
Mm-hmm. Well, fantastic. Well, this brings us to the end of our show, and so thank you for coming on and talking about these three things. Physical activity, diet, music. Incorporating all of those helps us to have a better lifestyle. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next week.